pay attention to my thing, you need to go backwards. I put the sign on signature on one side and 20, thank you. So, don't follow me. Yeah, don't follow me. It's opposite. I did it wrong. So. That out, and they've sent it to us for signature. That's all. They had been waiting on some items, and they finally got what they needed so they could do the recommittal. The next letter we have is the letter of support for the Sunrise Lake Watershed Management Plan grants for 2024. John Mullen put together this letter. Everybody should have reviewed it. It's just supporting for looking for funding from NHDES Watershed Assistance Section 319 Grant Program. We're not committing to anything financially. We're committing our support. You can certainly have a copy of it. After the meeting, I'll make a copy for it if you want to follow me over, and I can give it to you.
25 cents a page.
You're getting the discount.
Put it on my bill.
Yeah, okay. That's, yes.
I don't think we have to make a motion, or we had discussion on it already. I don't think it's a motion because we're not committing the town to anything.
We're just,
This is just merely us saying we're good with them applying for the funds.
right.
When he comes back to us
And
later
wants money?
with numbers and what have you and wants money, well, then that's when we'll have
Right.
further discussion and have to make a vote on it. But this here is just merely allowing him to go to the state and basically say, the town is in support of our project.
The next letter, the next item I have on here in the signature action items isn't listed. It is a offer letter to Carol for interim until we hire a secretary bookkeeper for her to do the admin, to do the bookkeeping until we have that position filled. It's at $25 an hour, which, so that one I guess we could make a motion that I think we did.
Yes. I would make a motion to move forward and continue that offer of employment for $25 an hour.
Yeah, to
Per
just,
diem.
yeah.
Seconded.
Tracy? Okay, well, sorry. And then all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, passed. Sign it. That takes care of the signature. So, next item on the agenda is old business, is Kearsarge Energy. So you go ahead, you're up.
I need these new pens. $10 off.
What's that?
I said I don't like these new pens. I bought a whole case of them.
It's the first time I haven't had one, so.
So, today, what
the state signed into law HB 281, which allows us to do a 5 megawatt project. When we first came to, it was 1 megawatt. So that's completely changed the whole game for us. And what we can do is do a project basically that's 5 times the size. It allows us, because this site has a lot of wetlands, to be much more flexible on the site and moving it around a lot more. We won't do a 1 megawatt project. So we're actually going to be using overall less space when you look at the overall parcel. But what it does is it allows it to be much more interesting for the town in terms of revenue. There is a lot of wetlands, as we discussed at the last meeting on this site. So we've flagged it, so we have to be very careful where we're going to put the project. But right now, what we're looking at is trying to come to an agreement on taxes, which will allow us to be able to do the numbers and make sure that the project. We've come up with some proposals, but now what we're offering in 2 different proposals is one is about $350,000, which the higher amounts up front, and before we were approximately at $70,000. And the other proposal, which we can get to in a second, is about $369,000, and that's a steady rate with an escalator. Now, this is just a tax agreement, as we said before. We'll follow town permitting processes separately with Concom and with Planning Board. And I think you had spoken to your assessor after our last meeting.
Yes.
I don't know if there's any feedback.
Yes, so based off of the information we provided the assessor, they came back and said the estimated tax based on our 2022 rate would be around $44,000 a year.
That was with the smaller project.
Yes, yep.
Um,
And that was based off of information, and there's an email going back and forth between information that Cassie provided to Carol, and then Carol provided that information along to our assessor. And then they came back based off of the information they requested. That's what they came back with, and that was based off of the first project.
Sure.
First proposal numbers. Yep.
Sure. So we've done projects in Manchester, we're doing one in Concord, in Belknap, in Pelham, and working, I don't know what the approach was, how they assessed it, but normally maybe they put in labor or other pieces because a project like this depreciates pretty dramatically. It could be that this was the first year and then it depreciates down. I'd have to look at the numbers, but with those numbers, over 20 years, we could move the numbers around. But before, when we were looking at the original proposal, 70,000, that was over 20 years. So at these numbers at 44,000, there's not a chance this project, we'd lose significant amounts of money every day. And I'd be happy to show the revenues, what you get on a project like this with the program. So that would be a question. The other thing with a larger project, if the town is interested, if you go to page 3, not only could we provide taxes, but we could also provide the net metered energy, so the energy savings, and that would be about another 87,000 over 20 years. And that would be working through the net metering program with Eversource. We'd have to look at the town bills and apply them to different buildings, but we could do that. And then finally, the other piece would be the current use penalty tax, which we've tried to estimate as well, and that would be based on that. So if you look at page 4, that was in our estimation of what the energy savings could be for the town of approximately $87,000. And that's just looking at usage, looking at how the net metering program works. And basically, there's a credit that Eversource provides on the bill. And what we're offering is what the town would take from that, looking at the savings. So you get a 10% off that. That's the way the program works. I can go into more details, But essentially, if the net metering credit, as we've got in our example, is about 12.6 cents, the town would take 10% from that, and they would get $1 credit that could be applied to your bills. And there's no downside to that. It's just how much production is from the solar facility. So it's a neat program many towns are using right now in the state. And then what I also put together was revised proposals for the taxes. And we'd have to estimate the current use taxes right now. And that's basically the summary. So we'd like to consider, be happy to work with the assessor and see where they're coming out with numbers. There's certainly different ways to do that. But with a project like this, with the costs, because all the costs are up front, we could support, but this is much larger. And on the old one at 1 megawatt with 44,000, we would never break even. We'd never make any money. So we wouldn't even be able to move ahead on that one. So that's kind of where we are. So I guess I can take questions then.
So it doesn't matter going from the, well, I should say, I'll ask this question. You're not going to use any more acreage going from the 1 to the 5.
We will use more acreage because it's a larger project.
So what would that be going from? He's presented was 4 acres.
Yeah, you
Go
could
to-
probably say 18 to 19 acres.
And
But-
it's going to run into, then I think you're going to run into the whole wetlands that you.
No, we have, I can show you some layouts. We think this would work around the wetlands. Just looking at how it would be spread out. It would be a more expensive project to build because of the connections, but we can avoid the wetlands.
So this, this right here, down in this corner, is that the access
This
from
road.
Route 153?
Correct. And so this is the avoiding wetlands. And we can move where the interconnection point is, that's working the other source.
Kate, do you want a copy of this?
I have an account.
Yeah, yes. So is the blue with the,
That's where the panel.
okay. That's what I'm trying to figure.
Sorry.
So I guess, given this latest information, we'll have to look at this again, and you can certainly reach back out to Avatar and, give them this latest information that you're coming back with, and we can circle back in with Cassie and say, Avatar can show us where they're coming up with their figures.
Sure.
So that's kind of like where I'm at this point.
We can give you what the pilots have been done across the state. They average between about $2,000 to $4,000 per megawatt. So we're not coming in and saying, hey, we're trying to lowball and a factor. These are just the actual numbers to make the projects work. And it depends on what components are put in. But having done 1, 2, 3, probably almost 4 of them so far, they're all in that range.
Can I actually have a question, kind of not related to the proposals or anything, but it's
Yeah.
just something that's been kind of bouncing around in my head, and you
Sure.
have the background knowledge of all these other projects. What is the benefit of basically front-loading taxes?
It's more for the town. I'm looking.
So it basically, just so I understand it correctly, because I look at it 2 ways. So one, we front-load it, and basically the taxpayer here sees a lump sum up front, as opposed to seeing that over the course of 20 years.
Correct.
Right? Now, is there an option, or are you even proposing an option where we don't agree to this up front, where we say if you want to move forward with the project, that's fine, but it's going to be at the tax rate of whatever that may be from year to year to year?
Yeah. We would not move forwards on that because
Okay.
that's too much uncertainty.
Too much uncertainty for you
Right.
guys. Okay, and that was my question, because I kind of looked at these numbers and I went, that's great now, but if we had a huge influx in population along with other avenues of growth here in the community over the course of the next, 20 years is a long time.
Right.
And then I look at what the tax rate could potentially be 20 years from now, and then I look back and go, well, geez, they made out like a bandit.
Yeah. So that's a question that comes up. Under federal law, renewable energy is depreciated 100% within 5 years. So if you say, to answer your question, in 10 years, what's the value of this property? We can't resell it for anything.
Right.
It's basically worthless. So then you're looking at an income approach. And looking at the income, you don't have a lot of costs on these to run them because there's no moving parts for the most part.
Right.
But all your costs are up front. It's like putting a building up. So the cost to build a 5 megawatt could be 10 or 11 million dollars. So we as an organization, and with solar it's pretty straightforward, there's no hidden numbers. We probably wouldn't see cash flow break even till about 7 years.
Right.
What makes it work is we get the federal tax credits. And then you have clean, but the nice thing about a solar project is it doesn't use any town services at all.
Now, I know there's discussions and what have you at the state level and what have you as far as Eversource and buying energy at this point off the grid, and I know that I've looked into a few things that are going on, and I know that Eversource right now is kind of spoke. I don't want to say negatively, but basically they're starting to hurt because of all of this solar. Now, my question here is kind of twofold, and it's kind of projecting the future, if you will.
Sure.
And I know we touched on it at your last meeting, but I'm just kind of curious where it stands for you guys, because I don't know where this is all going to lead 10 years from now, But hypothetically speaking, from the background knowledge and the discussions that I've heard and the articles that I've read, if something like that were to happen, where Eversource says, you know what, we're only buying from certain providers, we're limiting the grid, so on and so forth, and now you guys wind up losing your shirt, if you will, on the project, because let's just hypothetically say you're not one they choose to buy from.
Right.
What happens with everything over there?
With the state program, it's legislated for 25 years.
Okay.
So once we sell to Eversource. But just having spoken to one of the senior guys, Carl at Eversource, Eversource really supports this.
Right.
The challenge, there's a couple things. If we come in and put a solar project, the developer has to pay for the interconnection and any upgrades. So the town and any of the users in the area could get an upgraded substation, upgraded lines, upgraded reliability. So that's something that's paid by. So Eversource likes that because then they don't have to pay for it. And they're basically getting it not for free, but it doesn't have any cost to them. So that's a big benefit. Eversource also likes this because Eversource isn't supplying generation because of deregulation. So they have some amount they can supply. The challenge for Eversource has been just making sure they can control how much can come on.
Right.
And so that's looked on overall at the state level. The other thing that's happening at the state level, I don't know if it's going to go through, it's happened in Rhode Island, it's happening in Massachusetts, is they're trying to come up with setting one amount per megawatt for taxes because they know what some of the numbers, and they know, I'd be happy to share with you, and maybe there's something with the assessor if you like, our profit and loss and look at it. So you can say, hey, this guy isn't coming up here and giving us BS and trying to lowball a price. Say, here's what it is. But having done them, as I think I said at the last meeting, we've probably done 50 or 60 pilot agreements in New England. We understand the cost structure to make these things work.
Okay. No, like I said, I just had some questions, and mine isn't more. I look long term, and I'm just like, I see the positive in it, in renewable energy and solar, and I've been looking at doing something very similar on a much smaller scale on my property, residential, and sell that. So this is obviously much larger, but I've been doing the research on it. so I just kind of look at it like, okay, once we get to that point, like, where are we at, and how does that work? Do we have, with the life expectancy of solar panels, so on and so forth, do we now have 18 acres of solar panels, and your company has some way, somehow bankrupted, whatever, and whose responsibility is it now to clean all that up?
Right, so if we were to do a project in town, we put up a decommissioning bond or surety.
Okay,
So at the end of the period, the money's there, and it's in the name of the landowner and the name of the town.
okay.
So if we disappear, you can decommission it. But the thing is that what you're putting up, it's all recyclable. So actually, you can make money from these. It's less than the cost of labor. But the other thing that's interesting when you look at the future is battery storage. So it's early, but we've got 7 facilities in Massachusetts. There's a big standalone battery that's up in New Hampshire, one in Maine. And with batteries right now, if the power goes down, if there's a snowstorm, wind, or whatever, if you have a solar facility with a battery, you can actually produce the power.
Right.
So it changes their whole reliability. It's just how you manage the network. So that's where the utilities have to understand better that, I'm going to open up what's called the reclosers to allow the power to come from this facility. So it's kind of interesting with storage. It's a little bit early, but solar plus battery storage will dramatically lower the cost of electricity in the world.
Right.
And it's already happening right now because what makes the most sense is you charge your batteries either from the solar facility, their wind or whatever it is, or you charge them at night when the costs are much lower. And so that's much better for the utilities as well because they can manage the flow coming in on their lines.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
So I think given this latest information, this will be tabled until our next meeting to
Okay,
move forward.
fair enough.
And like I said, I'll be reaching out one of us will be reaching out with Cassie and getting the latest information over to our assessor so that they can get that information.
Yeah, if they wanted to sit
Yeah.
down, I'd be happy to go through
Sure.
numbers and say, why are we off by such a large factor?
Yeah.
Okay, great. All right, thank you.
And I just want to make sure so that we can stay on the same path, I guess would be the best way. So this is the current proposal. This basically supersedes your
Right,
previous.
because the bill, the other one,
Just wanted to make sure that it wasn't like, hey, we're looking at this, but this is also another option.
no.
This
The
is
bill
where
was,
we're at.
was just passed, so this allows us to do a larger, what the bill allowed you to do is do what's called group net metering. So if the town didn't want this power, we could sell it to other towns throughout Eversource territory in New Hampshire.
Gotcha.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you.
So the next item on the agenda is sale of the used Verizon phones. Tim, that's you.
Yeah, I mean, we have four phones we can sell for
Okay.
$150 each.
These are the used ones?
Yeah.
Okay.
And what did we sell the new ones for?
$250.
Oh, okay. So your proposal is to sell the used ones for $150.
Yep.
So, do you want to make that motion?
Sure, I'll make that motion.
I'll second it. And does, just for clarification, is that chargers, anything with it, or is it just
It's the phone and the charger.
On
phone and
the
charger?
charger, okay. All those, any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so passed. All right, so if you can get that up on the website, that would be great.
I'll work on that this week.
Thank you. So,
First come, first served?
Yeah.
Or putting out to
Oh,
bid,
so-
or like the
so
last
let's-
time, or?
so let's back up that, maybe we want to amend that motion, or maybe not amend it, make it more complete, I guess. I'm not opposed to that. Any suggestions like first come, first served?
I would say at this point, the new ones we put out to a bid,
Mm-hmm.
personally, I would say first come, first served. Like, put it out there on the website, and when they're gone, they're gone.
So you want to amend your motion to state that they are first come, first served?
Sure.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
How are they doing that? Can they go in and see Teresa and get their name on a list or email us or?
Well, they're
So I would say have them email. the
Yeah, they're going to
bill.
email us in the first.
Okay, perfect, yeah. So that
First
would-
for the
yeah,
email.
Okay,
So let's
Yeah.
just make sure it's clear on the website, the
That is-
language.
yes, that it's based off of email. If you're looking for somebody to be in the office, it's like hit or miss.
And then we
hit or
can
miss.
make arrangements with them to.
Yep, to pick
this
them
up.
up. Yep. Perfect, thank you. The next item for new business, so this is just a notification from DES from Farmington, the wastewater treatment plant. It says pursuant to RSA 485-A:4, Roman numeral 17. This letter is to notify the town of Middleton that the subject state discharge permit has been renewed by the Department of Environmental Services. If you have any questions or relate relative to the permit, please contact me at Haley. So it's Haley Franz, and this is actually has to do with Farmington, but they, I guess, need to,
It's because of when they lower the weight.
so that's just informational purposes, so I'm just going to announce them at the meeting. The next item is, on here is Stratford Regional Planning Check-In Meeting. They have a meeting that's coming up, and they would recommend to meet with the Board of Selectmen and Planning Board, town staff, or a combination thereof. So I just need to reach out to them and set up that meeting. No, it says we need to set it up. It's not, yeah, it needs to be set up. The next item, town beach passes, Tracy.
We had a resident, that owns property and pays taxes in town but does not live in town, asked, why we don't allow them to swim at the town beach without getting taxed. So I said, I'd ask the board if that's something we want to reconsider. Still a taxpayer, but not a resident. As it stands right now, if you're not a resident, you buy a sticker.
I mean, I'm kind of surprised about that.
I was too.
So I would assume that it's, you shouldn't assume, I guess. I would assume that it's, if you're a taxpayer, if you own property in town, you're a taxpayer, then you would have to be able to have access to the beach. And does that make sense?
I own property in Rye, and I get a beach pass for
you
beach
do?
down there.
We'll have a side conversation on that. So yeah, so I don't see, so I mean, I think it's a matter of, I don't know why we shouldn't be doing that going forward. If you're a taxpayer, you shouldn't have to buy
Yeah.
a beach pass.
I guess maybe we'll look at wherever it's documented over
Right,
there.
is that
If we need to amend it at the next meeting, but if not, just make it be known.
Let me just write that down.
I agree.
That's us.
Yeah.
All right. The next item, Farmington EMS coverage. This is me. So this last Wednesday, Chief Lavalette and I met with Ken Dickey, the town administrator from Farmington, and the fire chief Reinhardt from Farmington to discuss, I think, some coverage. It was kind of vague as to what the conversation was covering, but it was, I think, in regards to, they were going to look at their call volume for Middleton, and they know that Milton charges us, so I think depending on the call volume that they were just kind of giving us a courtesy heads up that we may see potential bill from Farmington. And also there was some discussion about Milton covering, not Milton, but Farmington covering the backside of the lake. Because I do know, because Chief Reinhardt said that Milton and Farmington have an agreement that Farmington covers Gold Street, which connects Silver Street and Farmington. Yeah, the Silver Street. So there's a small section that's Milton that Farmington actually covers that for Milton because obviously it makes more sense. So there was a little bit of discussion that nothing was determined. It was just kind of an information gathering meeting, but that happened, and so we'll see kind of what that leads to. I'll open it. So does the board have anything at this? So I'll open it up to public comment. Be easy on me because I'm taking the minutes. So just gonna say that. Bonnie.
Just a big thank you to everyone for
Say thank you to all the departments that showed up. I mean, we had people that, well after work and stayed and cleaned up, and it was nice to see. It was a fun night.
Also, I wanted to make note that Old Home Day had a great turnout. It was great. I came up. John had dedicated the plaque that you didn't notice outside on the building for the L-Chip grant. So we did that little blurb during the whole dinner. So just going to say that thanks to the Old Home Committee for putting on a great day, and I think it was very successful. So that was good. Kate.
I just want to say right back at you, Brian. You just did a fantastic job. I came for the food, I stayed for the music, and I loved watching those kids on those trucks. It was just a fantastic time. So thank you, because that takes a lot of work and a lot of effort. So we're looking forward to next year's both food and music. But I did have another question. If
Yeah.
anybody knows when the bulk pickup is.
When is it going to be scheduled for? Is that
I'm sorry.
is that the date is going to be scheduled for, Kate?
Yes, please.
Okay, I can find that out, and once we know it, it'll be up on the website.
I
But
think it's out
I
already.
feel like a lot of job.
Hold on.
Tracy's finding it.
September 13th.
I was going to say the dates were already out.
Wow, that's early.
No. So is that tomorrow? Wait, no.
No, Tracy's checking to see if she can find it. If we can't find it, Kate, we will get it, and it is if it.
I'm sorry, I don't know your name, but she's calling you September 10th?
No. Oh,
I didn't read it.
really? That bulk, but we're talking bulk pickup? Oh, it is? We're good. So you're saying 9/10? That's for the Friday pickup. It's being deferred, probably delayed a day because of Labor Day. So I would suspect bulk pickup for the lake is going to be, usually it's Tuesdays you get picked up, so it'd probably be Wednesday. But we're going to confirm that, Kate.
Okay, I need confirmation.
Yes, we will get confirmation. I hear it's on the website, but,
Yeah, I'm gonna look.
okay.
I thought I bet. I was gonna look on the website.
Any other oh, yeah, Dan?
Yeah, 2 minutes. You guys discussed the ARPA funds for the 3 employees that did not get anything.
No, we have not.
Are we
No,
going to
just-
do that?
Wait a minute. No, we have not had any discussion, and we're still looking to see, we're getting some quotes in on the flooring, and then we will look and see what's left. But I'm not saying it's on the table, and I'm not saying it's off the table. But right now, it's just, we're not discussing it.
And camera situation,
Just awaiting the investigation to arrive at our doorstep.
still together.
Not the full investigation, no.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Anything else?
Fall bulk pickup day.
Oh.
Stickers are required Tuesday, October 10th, and Friday, October 13th.
October, I was going to say. So, October 10th? Is that what you said, Tracy?
Yep. October 10th and the 13th.
10 and 13, okay.
I was going to say.
I was going to say, September seemed early. Okay, and so just as a reminder, there'll be no meeting next week because it's Labor Day. So our next regularly scheduled meeting will be the following 11th, September 11th. Other than that, I don't have anything else. I'll look to, did you have anything, John? Okay. A motion to adjourn?
I'll just put it out there on the public real quick. School goes back in session September 5th, so please drive carefully and pay attention.
Yep.
Actually, quick question between Scott and Tracy. Have you guys provided Dan the calendar?
Spoke with them already.
Okay.
Good.
All right, so with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
We'll make a motion to adjourn at 7:12.
Second that, somebody?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.